Hi, I'm John Loydon. I'm one half of Business Builders, and on this episode we're talking about buy to sell. So how do you build your business up in a way that it's sellable? What do you need to consider, and why is that so important in today's age? So if you're a business owner and you're really looking to exit your business at any stage, or you want to build up more equity, more value, more profit within your business, it's essential that you learn those skills of how you can make your business more sellable. I'm really excited for this episode. I know that me and Mark have discussed this many times, but it's going to be great to deep dive on this. So listen up.
Hi and welcome to Business Builders. Today we're going to talk about building a business to sell a business. Very interesting topic, and is part of the series of long-term business strategy. Today we're going to take a deep dive into what you need to do, looking at maybe timescales of what you want to do, like selling it for retirement. What do you want to build a business early and then sell it fast? Looking at specific business structure and maybe tools and systems that you need to use as well. I think it's going to be a really interesting episode, and it's going to be quite exciting to talk about it. So John, what about you? Do you know any businesses that have built up the business to sell it? Have you built a business to sell yet?
Yep, I think that all businesses should be built to sell, which is a bit of a spoiler, I guess. But it's more the reason why we do it. So a lot of people, they say, I don't have an exit plan, and that's fine. It's an acceptable answer. You don't need to have a plan in place to sell your business. But I still think that basically treating your business as if it is going to be available for sale, it basically makes sure that you focus on the right metrics. So a lot of people, they're thinking, I'm doing all right. My business has turned over 600,000 or 800,000 pounds. And you're like, right, that's great, but how much profit did it make? And it's like, it made 7% profit, it made 30% profit. And you're thinking, okay, so what do you think the business's value is? I don't really know what the business is valued. But as soon as you see your business being valued, I think it's actually quite a nice thing for maybe every year or 2 years to have somebody come in and audit your business to say, this is the value of your company. So we can see the value of your domain. I purchased our domain off 123reg, and I can see that the domain is worth £1,200 already. And I'm thinking, well, that's cool. Mm-hmm. That's cool to see that. It's worth something because the equity I've put into building the brand out. But when you get your assets and you look at it and say, I've purchased this, I've got this software, I've got these processes, where do they show the value? So when they kind of build that up, they'd say, right, you're year one in business, so you can only get this kind of multiplier. By the time you're year three, we'd look at it a little bit differently. But what they're really doing is they're telegraphing where we can build this value into the business. Mm-hmm. Now, a lot of people think about that going, yeah, but I would never sell. Okay, but you might take in an investor, you might take in a loan, you might take in an influx of capital. It will still be the same value that they draw upon. Mm-hmm. So knowing your numbers is something that I kind of talk about a lot, and I think that anyone that's kind of coaching or looking into businesses, it's really key that they understand, what does my business turn over, what is my gross, what's my net. But more than that, you're like, what is your contract value? Right? So it's we have a retainer that's £50,000 retainer per month. Fantastic. What's the likelihood? What's the churn rate? How many customers leave and join? What's the velocity of the cash flow? Do you have the premises? Do you own the premises? Do you pay rent on the premises, or have you got 4 units and you rent out 3 and yours is in essence then free? The business kind of self-sustains itself because it makes it more attractive. How much are you a dependency to the business? So you couldn't sell it as it is currently, John or Mark, because you're needed for X, Y, Z function. I think that really what it's going to do is give you a treasure map of, here's what you need to actually do in order to have your business completely automated and away from yourself so that it runs. And I think that's quite a good hack to do, is to bring someone into the business and say, look, evaluate this and tell me where the kind of value is. Mm-hmm. And then it'll be interesting to see how they build it in. That's where you learn about what's the multipliers for your sector, how do they derive the value from it. But you can take that straight into acquisitions, because then you could say, right, I know what I'm looking for. So if I'm buying a business, I want to make sure that's high, that's low, this isn't a dependency, that's not a dependency. So you're almost learning just by becoming more familiar with your own business.
Mm-hmm. Interesting as well. it'd be good to understand how you build a business though as well. So do you need to make sure that you get the sort of right people in place, the right business structure in place as well? Obviously kind of going about that as well so that it is sellable. I think you mentioned in a previous episode as well, you might get investors going, I don't like that guy, he doesn't fit, I like you, John, and you like, I want to buy the business from you, but I'm not buying a business with that guy in it as well. Or do investors ever have questions as well about structure?
I think the organisational structure is really key, because it's like, if you're buying the business, you need to see, right, how are they thinking about it? Mm-hmm. How do they mitigate risk is really what they're asking. Mm-hmm. So let's say you buy a standard agency, so how do they render their retainer? Is there just like a big pool of staff and then they all sort of like try and render it? So it's like, let's say there's 500 clients, are they all rendered by say 50 designers, marketeers, developers? That's a fairly standard way of doing it, but there's more modern methods like building kind of block teams. So I'll put a team together that has 2 designers, a marketeer and a developer in it, and it will become a pod. So that pod will support 50 businesses, and then the other 50 businesses will be another pod. And if that pod collapses or their customers leave or their customers grow, we can then split the pods, so you're starting to split the experience up, but support the client in a more scalable way. Investors love stuff like that, because then it's showing that sounds really easy to run versus, it's just madness in here, mate. We take in $50,000, we say to the guys it needs to be rendered, and we kind of leave it to them. And you're like, that sounds very loosey-goosey on how you're managing your structure. Now, it might work and you can hide that for the public, but when you're kind of quoting someone to buy the business or sell the business to, they're going to be quite concerned about that kind of thing. And you see it in IT companies, web design agencies, marketing agencies. There's loads of companies that do it. But I think that you're bang on. The structure is key. It has to be good. What
would be the steps? Do you think there's a process or a step-by-step guide that you would go through? So obviously you want to try and get yourself off the tools, but essentially you're probably, when you have a business, you have to actually make it something that's unique and that people want to buy the product or buy the service off of you. You then need to hire your team that fits into the certain business structure. Do you have a hierarchical structure, or do you have like a pod-based structure? Then kind of moving from that, how do you then start taking yourself away and taking yourself off the tools so that you're not working in the operations? Are you aware of any sort of processes that you have in place, or I suppose if you were going to build a business, like what are the key things that you would try and have in place to then try and make sure you sell your business?
To get it. So I think again, a brilliant question, because each one of these you could probably build into an episode itself, but I think really what you need to have is a vision. Like, where's the company going? What's the company? Why was it constructed? It was built against the belief that the market's going to do this. This is where we're at. This is why we've assembled the team. That's why the team have the skill set they have. And that's the kind of narrative, the story about why this company even exists. It's not by chance. It's set up for a core purpose, a drive. So I think that's there. I think the values of the organisation, the culture, like we spoke about this in previous episodes. If you're buying a business, part of the thing that makes it attractive is the strength of its brand and its culture, because that's what people buy into. That's what really sells the brand. It's like how people perceive that company. If they have a terrible reputation and 1-star reviews and they don't take ownership of their problems and their staff are all on Glassdoor complaining like nobody's business, it's very difficult to turn that around, and it kind of damages the asset. I would also go into, does it have processes? So another one we've spoke about is if they got like a kind of employee handbook. Are all the staff in there under contracts? What are their contracts? How close are they to like full capacity, covering all the various roles? And is there any issues in there where, let's say they've got like a system administrator or a really senior React developer, stuff like that that's hard to hire? Do they have anything like that? And what's their answer to that? How did they acquire their staff? Is it brutal recruitment fees, or did they organically attract them because of the strength of the brand? Because you're about to inherit that problem if you buy that business. Then it's actually like, I look at it as those are kind of business questions. But owner questions, I want to see what has been that person's appetite to risk. So like, how much debt does the business have? Is there any sort of clear mistakes or things that I'm thinking, it's kind of unacceptable, you know, that's quite a questionable way of dealing with it? Or are they showing themselves to be a good custodian, like they're looking after the asset well? Is there things of value? So if I was buying the business, I'd be looking for a bit of business management ideally. It's like something that's like, I'm not too good at this, because that's where I can add my value. But if I was selling it, I'd want to show that, look, I'm on all these things. So it's like all the HR policies and the contracts are in place, the processes are there, the business isn't accruing massive debt, we've got brilliant recruitment, the team strength's really good, like the feedback for clients is excellent, there's a good client bank that are loyal to the brand, and then what's the retainers and the kind of cash flow velocity, how many customers leave. So there's lots of kind of criteria, I guess, that make a business valuable. But if you were buying a business, you'd maybe look at it as a slightly different lens, because ideally you're looking for something where the owner drops the ball in at least a couple of locations, so you can kind of say, that's interesting. So he doesn't know about R&D, so there's like another pool, that's a pool of revenue that I know I could kind of pull 2 years back of, and they're not doing that now. They've not taken XYZ support that's been made available for their business. They're currently recruiting 8 people per month, but they don't know that they could hire an internal recruiter that could do that at cost. So there's things in there that you're thinking, right, day one I could probably pull out a couple £100,000 of value. That's attractive to buy. But from the business owner's perspective, you're trying to make sure that there isn't gaps like that, because that's where they'll drive the price down. That's them looking for the rust. Oh, there's a bit of rust there, a wee scratch in the door, tyres are a wee bit bald. You know, you want the car valeted, so it's like it looks pristine, as if it's just came out of the factory, and they go, wow, this car looks amazing, looks like it's barely been driven. And you go, look, I'll look after my stuff. And you get a better price. Yeah,
because it'd be good to try and make sure that you ensure that you're going to get the highest value for your business.
Definitely.
You know, and understanding the things that make sure that there's not rust there, make sure that everything's squeaky clean, because I think anybody that's going to try and invest or buy a company, they're going to pull the carpets up, they're going to check things, they'll really delve into it, because I think an investor said to me as well, there's always something. There's always something. Once you pull it and you get right into it, there's always something there. It's just trying to find that. And I think when they find it, that's when they can go, oh, I'm just going to bring that price.
A road's the price down. Or, you know, it would have been worth that, Mark, I agree with you. However, with the kind of carpets the way they are, you know, that's another X amount of thousand of cost. And it's the labour of doing that. And I mean, if you fix it, then I'm happy to pay you the full price, but are you going to fix it? And it's like, oh god, I don't want to do that. But I kind of think about it, when I first bought a house, luckily enough I'd rented a couple of times, so I kind of knew what could go wrong with houses. So when I bought my house, I actually went round with a phone charger and I plugged it into every socket, and I turned on the hot water, and I felt every radiator with the boiler on, and I waited to see, like, is it cold at the bottom, cold at the top, like I checked everything. And the woman must have thought I was off my chomp, you know, as if like, what's this guy doing? But it's like, I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to buy this based on the way it's presented, and I know that these things are very easily glossed over. So it's like, I'm going to check, I'm going to pull the couches over, or the tables for the way you've set it. I'll put it back, but I want to see you covering up stains in the carpet, or wood rot, or, you know, there's dampness and stuff, because they're going to try and make it look better than it really is. And I think with buying businesses, it's the same. It's very easy to sort of, here's the accounts and they say X and Y, and like you almost like spin the narrative, and it's like, cool, give me your last, say, 6 months in and out, and I'll just review the in and out transactions, and then you go, what's this? What's this? But you can almost like build your own model. Having a team there to review that stuff can be quite good as well. So
do you think that's probably a good idea, is maybe to hire somebody that's like a risk assessor or something, or have a consultant that's a risk assessor? You don't maybe have to hire them but you just say, like, can you come in each year, assess the business, because I am trying to build this to sell it, and try and find anything that's wrong, just rip it apart so that we can fix it and move forward. Do you think that would be
I think your coach, and I mean, it's easier because your coach is my coach, but Campbell would definitely do that if you asked them to, like to just say like, look, I want you to review it and be really brutally honest about what it is. Your accountant as well is another one. Like I try to get a really close relationship with my accountant because, you know, every other day I'll talk to them saying, right, I want to acquire this company, but I believe that it's better to do it as an LLC. I want to set up an organisational structure. I don't want to trade throughout that. This is what I'm hearing is good advice. So I'm almost sense checking it against someone like a sounding board, just to kind of say, is this the right thinking? Is there anything else there's a risk of that, or anything else your other clients are doing? So especially if you can find an accountant and a coach and people in a team that are already doing that with other clients, I think it makes it easier then, because then it's like, well, they're already doing this. So they would say like, oh, I'm doing that with Philip's business or Lucy's business, and like with your agency it's this times multiplier, or and you can kind of start to do that, like digging into your numbers. So I think a coach is good. A risk assessor is quite good. It could even be like a person that deals with things like insolvency and stuff like that as well. And then, as I say, like paying someone to like evaluate the business, like an Alan Kinghorn or something like that, and saying, look, I would just, even if it's a pay you for the time, I just want to see how much would that be, and what would you advise every year, every 2 years, and they'll direct as according, saying look, every year's kind of excessive, like but in a way I like that, because it's kind of like your scorecard, you know, it's like your kind of your school report card, you know, like kind of
must do better.
Mark talks too much, needs to do more selling, or whatever it happens to be, you know. John needs to stop drawing on his jaw.
No, it's really good to think about it in that way, and getting a third party to really kind of delve into it, because it's very easy to get comfortable in a business and you go, yeah, everything's going great, staff are happy, processes and systems all work, but actually then somebody comes in and goes, does it really work? Is that staff member actually happy, or are they just making you feel that they're happy but they're not really? But actually somebody delving right into that would be really, really kind of worthwhile. I think that's important to have, and I definitely, you know, echo your point, having a coach and, you know, having a good accountant as well. Like I was even looking at, you know, going back and looking at cash flow, because I was probably taking a bit of risk in the business. I'm paying people a little bit more to try to speculate, to accumulate to a certain
try
extent.
investing and stuff to get it in the back end.
But then you're like, you go into your cash flow thing, and I thought, I just want to optimize this, like almost automate it. It's like it's so good, so that you're always just on the ball with it. And I went and spent time with like the accountant and some of their staff, and it was absolutely brilliant just to like get a kind of process into place. And I'm like, I'm bringing that into the business so that I won't miss anything, you know, like I now know where, and I go at that, right, there's D-Day, there's, you know.
D-Day, the day of death.
The day,
this is when your business goes out of business. Yeah.
It's like that, as long as you're getting it as further as you possibly can. But yeah, I think that's really, really kind of worthwhile. And definitely like business valuation, I think that's a fantastic idea as well, is just because if you're trying to build your business to sell it, there's no point in you going in and trying to, you know, sell your business and then somebody goes, oh, it's only worth 250k or something like that. I was wanting $1 million. So, but actually having, you know, regular valuations and going, right, we're hitting that $1 million number.
Imagine it even went that way, where it's like it's worth $250,000, then it's worth $1 million, then it's worth 3 or 4 or 7. And then it goes down to 4 again, and it's like, whoa, what happened there? Something happened there. And that's why I think it's quite healthy though to do it, because a lot of business owners, I struggle from this as well, where Campbell will say to me, what do you want to focus on? Like, what do you want your topic to be? What do you want to be the focus where you get feedback? And I'm like, I want to always focus on the area where I feel that it's the biggest impact. Like, what is it I'm struggling with? Now imagine you had your business audited, but then you could say like, look, I kind of feel that our debt to assets ratio is too high, and I'd like feedback on that, like how I could reduce that. That's a great topic that's came off the back of an audit. You know, in our industry, it's meant to be a 65% to retainer project ratio or whatever it happens to be. But how do you find these things out without actually analysing it? And it's good to have a health check just to see like, look, I think what I'm doing is right, but I want a bit of feedback. I actually currently love the accountant I'm working with, because I've got a really good relationship with the guy, and it's quite a funny relationship as well, because he's like, stop hiring people. And I was like, why? And we were almost like having a debate about it, because I was thinking, like, I get where you're coming from, but you're an accountant, you're going to look at it as protecting what I've got, whereas I'm like, I know I could make good money off X, Y and Z. It would open up doors, it would allow me to push more aggressively along that kind of line. And he's like, but it's like, so the business is profitable. It was profitable very early on, but I actually spend the profit right back into the business so aggressively that it keeps it dead lean.
Yeah.
And that's difficult because you're risking your cash flow there, so you're taking away that stability layer that you would have had just by being patient, and you're like kind of 2-3 rolls into this kind of, yeah, but I could get there faster by doing this, and it's like, why are you going fast? And it's just impatience, because it's like I can kind of see where it's going and I want to get there faster. Not to make like ridiculous amounts of money, just because I think that the clients will get more value the bigger the company gets. Like the more I can get it back to, here's where I want to be, the better it's going to be for it. And he's just like, I get that, but just slow it down. Here's the kind of ratios you kind of need to stick to. If you can achieve this by then you can do it. And it's like, it's good, right? Because I would have hired another 3 people by now. I would have. I know it for a fact I would have. But he's like, don't. He's like, wait to the new year, right? And I was just like, so we've had a great November, right? And I'm saying to him, like, look at November. Come on, look at November. I can add another 3 resources starting there. And he's like, I know that, John, but he's just like, slow it down a bit. And I was like, I appreciate him doing that, because he's a strong enough person to say, I get where you are, and like, you want to do this all the time, and you just want to grow the absolute living daylights at everything you touch, but you have to slow down. You have to slow down, you have to look at it. And I thought it's good, because he will then balance the scales, because I respect him enough to go, do you know what, I can rein it in 60% more. I don't need to rein it in quite the degree he's asking, but I could certainly rein it in a bit. And then there's a respect there. Yeah. So I think I value having people that in my team and in my corner. And guys like Campbell being the exact same way, where we're looking at what's the turnover, it's good, the gross is really good, the net is lower than it should be because I've spent it all on growing the business. But then as you said, it's speculate to accumulate. So I'm not really interested in making a big profit. I'm interested in getting the structure of the team in place. Yeah, and
so
then that's my focus, you know.
And then it will come.
Profit comes later.
It's really good. I think having that honest advice from people that are out with, and actually having to listen to that honest advice, because you can make mistakes. People make mistakes in business, and actually having somebody say, no, stop, do this. This is, that's what you're paying them for at the end of the day. So that you have that success. But I know it's like, I know what you mean. I'm probably the same myself. And you go, oh, girl, we do this.
It's like shiny object syndrome. Like, oh, I could have 4 of them. Like, what? No, I don't.
And it's kind of even going on that valuation piece as well. If you are trying to hit a certain number, 2 million, £3 million, getting your business valued, and then saying to the person, it's at $1 million. What do I need to do to get it to 3 million? Like, what? How would I get that up? Right. Well, this is what you would need to do. Right. Good. Now I'm going to put that into my plan. And then make sure that I actually hit that amount of money. Because if you are building to sell your business, you have to have that number in your head about what you want to sell it for.
So I'd like to get back to the kind of build it to sell kind of focus. Like, I feel that in my business just now, I'm building it more to have like the sustainability. So I've got like, I want to get the retainers to be the same as the incomes that are getting extracted for the business for like the staff. And then it's like, there's a safety layer where you go like, that's there. Then as that grows organically, I can expand the team in a very safe way of doing it. And I think that's a great place for a startup to get to. But then obviously when I get to year 2, year 3, which we'll be approaching next year, I want to then be thinking about, right, well, what is the growth? Where's the growth going to come from? And it is going to come from the profitability. But what I've kind of done now is I've forced myself back into that lens where it's like, I want to just kind of stockpile the money and not invest it, so that I can kind of like bring up the health of the business so that the advisors are happy, and then say, right, cool, now we can kind of grow again. Because it's very easy to do that. So if you looked at the accounts today, you would go, oh, well, why are you just not letting them hire these 3 people? That's ridiculous. There's more than enough there. But it's not about that. It's about, is that sustainable for December, January, February, or will it go like a spiky business? But I think it's on your own style, isn't it, as a business owner? Like if you're an aggressive grower of businesses, then no, you don't like that when it's kind of going, yeah, you know, do you need to acquire the office and bring in 2 staff members and open another location and start another business?
It can be scary though,
you know,
can't it? You go, oh no.
If that's not your way of thinking though, that must be terrifying. Like, I meet people and they're just thinking like, you seem to have a lot of kind of irons in the fire, and I'm laughing about it thinking you only see about 10% of what I do. It's like, I was talking to a guy about hybrid anchor, and I was like, I've got 4 businesses underneath foreman, and they're actually quite well progressed, but they're commenting on the hybrid anchor bit they see, and I'm like, you've not even seen all of hybrid anchor, you've only seen this little kind of lens. And I'm thinking, imagine they could see what's there. But that's the thing, like that, there's lots of business owners I could point to and you're thinking that's not what they do for a living. Like, they've actually got 3, 4, 5 different businesses. That's the one that they're the face of, so that's what you know them as. But that's actually probably not where they're making the bulk of their wealth.
But as I said, it can, being a little bit risky and speculate and accumulate, it can be scary. And I think if you're building a business to sell it, you do have to take a certain amount of risk. You do have to, you know, push yourself to a certain point. And you get yourself into a kind of scary point where you go, oh no, cash flow is going down a little bit.
What we're going to do that,
and it's like, I need to sell more. And it's like, it drives me a bit, you know, and I'm like, if I don't make any sales this, you know, month, I'm like, I might have to let somebody go.
What's going on? It's a squeaky bum time.
And it is squeaky bum time, but it pushes you and it drives you on. And
I try and use that as finding the fuel.
Yeah.
So it's like, kind of, if you don't do this, bad things happen. Like, bad things generally don't happen to that extent with my businesses, and probably the same with yourself, because you don't let them get there. But it's important that the business owner has the pencil at the back of the neck. Like, you are hit, it's your job, there's nobody going to come and save you here. You need to make this, otherwise, like, exactly that, you'll have to let people go, you let clients down, you go to business, whatever it is. There's a lot of negativity to failure when it's at that extent, but generally business owners, that's what you have to deal with every day in life. Like, if you don't come in here and earn your income, it doesn't get earned.
No.
You know what I mean? It's like, somebody has to be that person.
I know. So that's what I would say, is like, if you don't have that risk, then you probably are going into that sort of lifestyle business sense, you know. If you aren't looking to build it to sell it, you are kind of going into that lifestyle business sense as well.
Somebody said to me years ago, they're like, if you're not building to scale, then by default you're building to contract. Like, there is no middle ground. There's no such thing as sustain your business. You're either contracting or you're growing. And I think it's interesting finding people that they don't want to expand. Like, I'm happy being a one-man operation, I'm happy having a team of 4, and I'm like, that's interesting. So they only have a team of 4 because they really, really needed to have a team of 4. Like, if they didn't have these resources, they couldn't do the work. So they were almost like forced into hiring people. Whereas I will hire people for the same reason you will, thinking that's a good lane, that's a good lane, this pushes the circle out a wee bit. And then when you look back at it, you say, hey, this is great, you know, this is a good sized company. And you look at it, you say, aye, we're making quite a healthy amount of turnover and profit, this is brilliant. But then you can do things, you can review stuff and say, well, at this size we don't need that, we could do this now. Right, brilliant, there's a great saving. I think it's so key, and it's a healthy thing to build your business that way. There's also the other side of the coin, building it, like dressing it for sale, which is effectively getting all this stuff squeaky clean, so that there's 3 years for them to audit, and it's like really kind of telling the narrative you need it to tell. And that's what most people that put their business out for sale do anyway. Is they'll have those, like, right, these are the years not to have the company's cars, and you know, don't take excessive dividends, leave a lot of the kind of money in the business so they can see, hey, look, we're sitting on quite a nice hedge of money here. You would get all that if you buy it and everything. So it's like you're dressing it for sale, whereas if you're not selling it, a lot of people will extract revenue and put it in other things and all that.
What do you think about timescales as well? Is that just really down to personal preference? Because some people build it to sell it to retire, but I know some people that build, you know, I'm going to take a business to build it to sell it in 5 years' time.
That's a brilliant question. Again, I don't think there is a right or wrong to that. I think you could build a business up. I would probably say something like year 1 is establishing the business, so it's like 6 months is survival to year 1 is establishment. Year 2 and 3 is sort of like building your processes, your scale, your team, and then your year 4 and 5 is like scaling the absolute living daylights out of the business, like putting on as much fat, fattening up that pig as much as you can, and then you sell it. So that's a 5-year plan. That would be a pretty beautiful plan to do that. I'm in a slightly different headspace, so I don't want to build a business up and sell it, but not because I have some inherent loyalty to Hybrid Anchor. I think that I owned businesses in the past and I looked at it like a child. You know, like, I wouldn't sell my child. That's ridiculous. You know, this is my baby. This is my company. What are you talking about? Like, someone else would run it.
Just sell one of them.
You know, like, you wouldn't do that, right? Whereas that's not what I think anymore. Now I'm not emotionally connected to the brand at all. It's just a company. It's a vehicle for building a great asset that has value in the market. It looks after a team. It's got a brilliant ethos, but it's not an emotional connection anymore. But still, I don't want to sell that business. What I want to do is have the value of the business build up, and I want it to spawn out other businesses, which is why it's anchor. So they're all anchored into a company, like a group, like a conglomerate group, and then I can sell those assets. So I can build a business up for 6 years, which is one of the businesses I'm building, and I can sell it. So say that sells for £32 million, and it's me and, say, I don't know, 3 investors. Great. So we get that divided by 4 as our share. Everybody's up money, but Hybrid Anchor and the other businesses weren't affected. And I think that that's a better way of doing it. So I seen there was a guy I met a few years ago, and he did this with nurseries, and it was a 5-year cycle. So he would buy the nursery, so it might already have 10 years on it, but as soon as he became the owner of it, it had a 5-year countdown. So he had exactly that model: build it up, get the processes, scale the 11 daylights out of it, sell it, repeat. But he still had his print business to the side, and he had these other assets to the side, and you're thinking, to me, that's just clever. It's a more mature way of looking at the business market, rather than I need to get a sale, and you're like, right, you're thinking about it like at the sales level as if you're inside the company. Try and think about it bigger than that, in the sense of, what would you need to fatten up this pig? Now that these processes are pristine and the team's there and the team's great, the reputation is brilliant, how could you then do that? Are you going to reach out for equity or raise money? You could take a loan. How are you going to add the scale in so that when you sell it, it's worth more? Yeah,
excellent. So what would you say is your business builder for today?
So business builder for me would be, I think it's always good to build your business for scale. So I would do it anyway, regardless of whether you thought you were going to sell it, because I think it's going to instill the best practices. I would encourage, if you can justify affording it, to have your business audited at least maybe every 2 years as a minimum, and then try to get a really good team of advisors around you that will give you honest feedback about, look, I know you're doing quite well, you've done 200,000 net profit, you know, that's not a bad achievement, that's a great achievement actually, but people that push you and say, you probably could have done more, and there was a couple of mistakes there that, you know, I think next year if you can address these things, you would do a lot better. I would rather see it like that.
I agree with you there as well. Obviously you would want to have a plan in place of how much money you would want to sell your business for, but I agree with, I would make sure that you get a team of advisors that can help you with valuation, help you really tear apart your business. You know, you've obviously got like an accountant and things like that, but maybe even look at coaches, look at risk advisors, and get them to give you a little bit of insight. And it has to be people that you trust and you take their advice, as you said with your accountant. They're telling you, listen, John, stop doing that, do this in the new year, make this part of your plan, because that's the only way that you're gonna you're gonna sell it for what you want to sell it for as well. Okay, so you want to wrap this up?
I can wrap us up for that. So thanks very much for tuning in to Business Belters. We're really enjoying this series. We hope you're enjoying it as well. It's quite a different sort of series of topics. Some of these topics are much more about what you do with businesses when you're kind of set up and established, but this is actually probably what me and Mark speak about most of all when we meet up with each other. So I'm quite excited to be sharing some of these conversations and some of these thought processes. But I would also like to ask you as well, have you built your business for sale? Have you thought about it? Do you have a 5-year plan? What is your long-term goals for it? How important is exit to you? Or do you see yourself more as a lifestyle business or someone that's quite happy with where they're at in their company structure? So comment, let us know what you think. As always, please like, share, subscribe, smash that bell, all that good stuff, because it helps us get this show out to more people that can benefit from what we're discussing on it. So until next time, it's a goodbye from me.
And it's a goodbye from him.
See you later, guys.